Hello everyone, and today we're back into another top 5, and today we're going to be talking about the top 5 worst defensive Loomians in all of Loomian Legacy. I have two criteria for this list. One, they have really low defenses and HP, or they are weak by a lot of different typings, meaning more Loomians can actually hit them. So, with the two criteria out of the way, let's head right into this top 5. So, number 5 under this list is going to be a shocker because it's actually going to be a melee tank, Garbantus. And yes, Garbantus is a really good melee tank. There is no doubt about that. It can even do heavy damage in return with Battering Ram. But if you look at its bulk outside its melee defense, it has 53 HP and 64 range defense. It cannot tank hits on the range side whatsoever. But that's not even the biggest problem with Garbantus. It's not even its range defense. It's its typing. Earth Bug is horrible defensively. You are quad weak to Icicle Traps, you're weak to Brawler, and you're just weak to a lot of different types in general. There are a lot of Loomians that can hit you super effectively. The good thing is that this list does not take offense into consideration. Garbantus is still a very good Loomian despite being very bad type-wise and also very bad on the range side. The only reason it is number 5 because it actually is very bulky on the melee side. So, despite its range defense being really, really pathetic, it can actually tank hits pretty well on the melee side, which does give Garbantus a massive advantage compared to the other Loomians on this list. But its typing really doesn't help. I mean, being quad weak to Icicle Traps really doesn't help. Like, even melee ice type moves can one-shot Garbantus, which says a lot. And pretty much any neutral range hit can chunk you to the red, which really isn't good defensively. While Garbantus hits very hard, it is not the best defensively, and that's why it's in the top 5 for worst defensive Loomians in all of Loomian Legacy. Let's head into number 4. So number 4 into the list is actually going to be Cinnaboff. With all the problems I've had with Garbantus, they're going to translate into Cinnaboff, but 10 times worse. It's Air Bug, so you know what that means. Quad weak to Icicle Traps. And unlike Garbantus, it is just as frail, if not even more frail. It actually is okay on the range side, but even then, it's not enough. With its low HP stat, it's not enough. Any super effective hit could still take out a Cinnaboff. And oh my gosh, it's pathetic on the melee side. I think it has one of the lowest melee defenses in the entire game. It's even lower than number 3 and number 2 on this list, which is just insane. Yeah, Cinnaboff is very bad. Cinnaboff is just a bad Loomian in general. It's really bad offensively. It's really bad defensively. It's frail, no good abilities. It does have a move that can drain health. That's kind of it, though. And Magnify, but it doesn't really take consideration of its defensive capabilities. And yes, I know it has a secret ability that cannot take damage from traps. Even then, you're so frail and your HP is so low, you just die from super effective hits in general. And even neutral hits can chip you to the red, just like Garbantus on the range side. And my gosh, Priority is a nightmare. Priority can completely destroy this thing. And that's why Cinnaboff is number 4 on the list. Number 3 onto the list is actually going to be Revenant, and no one's shocked about this one. Revenant is a pure revenge killer. It's frail. There is no doubt about it. So frail, in fact, that it's frail on both sides, making neutral hits pretty much almost one-shot you. Yeah, this thing is very frail. And let's not even get started on typing. While Fire Spirit is awesome offensively, it's a very mixed bag defensively. Yes, there are a lot of typings that you resist, so it's easier to swap into them, and you're able to at least have your health in the green. The problem is that you're weak to 6 different typings, I believe. You're weak to Earth, you're weak to Spirit, you're weak to Water. Like, those are just 3 of them. You're also weak to Light, and there are a couple other weaknesses I can't really think of on the top of my head. Revenant is so weak to a lot of typings, and since it's so frail, it pretty much dies in one hit from a super effective move. While it can be strategized with Clutch Plushie and Vengeance, it really struggles. It really cannot be used as a tank. It is no such thing as a tank in this Loomian. If you run this thing as a tank, it's not going to work. It's a revenge killer that does a lot of damage. Revenant is definitely top 3. It definitely has no such thing as bulk, and that's why Revenant is number 3. Number 2 onto the list is actually going to be the Ludric. The Ludric has the same problems with Revenant, but something that I did not talk about in the Revenant segment is priority moves. Yes, while Revenant is weak to Shadow Sprint, it is immune to Quick Punch and resist normal priority. As for the Ludric, on the other hand, the Ludric is at least neutral to all priority, meaning that this thing can get prioritied down. And while this thing is a very good revenge killer, it can do a lot of damage if you can predict the Loomian that comes in. As a bulky Loomian, this is not bulky at all. In fact, normal neutral moves one-shot this thing most of the time. I've seen Zulong Elemental Burst one-shot this thing. That's how crazy it is. And pretty much any quick punch priority beats you in one hit. There's in the footage a Mutagon doing it. Your Soul can one-shot you. And even Himber, who doesn't even get stab, still two-shots Ludric with quick punch. It's still quick punch to Ludric. So yeah, it two-shots Ludric with quick punch, which is just horrible. This thing is so frail. And while it is amazing as an offensive Loomian, don't use this thing for defense. It's so hard to actually swap in. It's one of the hardest Loomians in the game to swap in because it dies so easily. The honorable mentions on this list is going to be very interesting because the first one is the frailest Loomian in the entire game, Wyndlin. Has the lowest HP stat and the lowest melee defense stat. It's horrible on the melee side. It does have decent range defense, but yeah. The reason why it's not on the list is because it is pure spirit, so it's not really weak to as many typings compared to the other Loomians like Revenant and Ludric. So I decided to give Wyndlin a pass. It also hits pretty hard, which does help it out offensively. The second honorable mention is Gastroke. And while Gastroke's amazing as a ranged tank, it has 35 melee defense, the lowest for any fully evolved Loomian. A toddler can punch this thing and can get this thing down to half health. Any melee attack can get this down, pretty much. It's so bad on the melee side. I can touch it, and it will go down to the yellow. That's how bad it is on the melee side. But since it's really bulky on the range side and a very good ranged tank, I decided to keep it off the list. But watch out for mixed attackers. The worst defensive Loomian in all of Loomian Legacy is Waka Laka. Now, it may be shocking to see Waka Laka at number 1, considering that it has a really good health stat, awesome range defense, even pretty solid melee defense. So what is Waka Laka's biggest flaw as a defensive Loomian? It's typing. It has the worst typing in the entire game, probably. Plant Mine. It is weak to 6 different typings, including a quad weakness to Bug and Dark. Well, yes, Bug is very bad offensively, so you don't really have to worry about that too much. As for Dark, it's the best offensive typing in the game, and pretty much half of the Loomians in the entire game have Dark coverage. Yeah, that's not really good for Waka Laka. It's weak to Icicle Traps, it's weak to Fire, it's weak to Spirit, and it's also weak to Toxic. So you pretty much have 3 or 4 Loomians on your team that can hit this thing. At least 2 or 3 that can hit this thing quad effectively. That's why this is the worst defensive Loomian in the game. Even though it has better bulk than pretty much every Loomian on the list, it is so weak to so many Meta Loomians that it has to be number 1. There is no other choice. Waka Laka is by far the worst defensive Loomian in all of Loomian's Legacy, based on its typing alone. The only way it would ever be good on the defenses is if it literally had 150 defense on both sides, and that's why this thing is number 1. And here it is, Waka Laka, the worst defensive Loomian in all of Loomian Legacy. What are some other Loomians that I have missed that are very bad defensively? It can either be how weak they are in their bulk or their typing overall. So yeah, tell me in the comments below. I hope you guys enjoyed this video of me talking about the top 5 weakest defensive Loomians. And let's head. I'll see you guys all later. Bye-bye!